It's already on there.
So we decided our show's gonna be a baby
Can I go see if we're live actually? Where do you want this?
Nope, I just want to make sure it's on there.
Oh.
Because I'm talking about soap. You guys want to see my soap before I start from yesterday?
Yes, we are live.
I'm cutting soap today.
You're live on YouTube.
Did that turn out pretty?
Marsha, Karen, Sandy, Donna, Turid, Joyce.
Turid is always so faithful. Every show.
I know. Tammy, Kay, Catherine,
In
Joanne.
Norway. If something happens to her and she doesn't show up, how are we going to know?
You need to send us your phone number, Turid, so if we don't see you on the show, we know to call you and make sure you're not in the hospital or something.
Yes.
Well,
That's the bad
from France. That's cool.
Wow, from France. That's the bad thing about doing these shows is you get to know all these people, and then if something happens, you're like, where's Lynn? Where's Donna?
Well, I was wondering about Dolphin Man. Have we
Where's
seen him
Dolphin
in a couple
Man?
days?
Yeah, I've seen him.
I haven't.
Oh.
He was on last show.
Vernon says,
Like
hi, Tara
Sarah.
and Mike. What, no food?
I haven't seen Sarah for a long time.
Me either. It's good to see you back,
Man,
Sarah.
hello.
Oh, hey, Darren's on. Yay.
And there's Darren. Say hi.
Hi, guys.
Is
Hey,
that
Donna.
Nurka?
Oh, Lisa, I want to
Lisa.
come to Vermont so bad. I have, ever since the show Newhart, I have always wanted to live in Vermont. Michael says no, it's too cold. But I think Vermont would just be perfect.
I didn't think it was too cold. I thought it was too far east. Mary's asking if I'm wearing my contacts. Yes, I am. Trying to get them in frequently enough. I had to go to the doctor and change one of them. So, Aaron said made the BLT pasta salad tonight. Oh my word, where has this been all my life? It was delicious.
It's good, isn't it? Yes. that's
Sandy's in the
delicious.
car. She's gonna catch us later.
Oh, yes. So, give me a thumbs up, guys.
Isn't Elly gone?
And give me a like and a share. If you guys can share it also, please. And give us a thumbs up. That really helps Facebook and YouTube to show others. Like yesterday, I don't know what happened. I had my biggest show day ever. 63,000 people saw us. The entire show.
Wow.
I couldn't believe it. And we had a reach of 300,000 people. We have never, ever had a show that big. And I guess the Facebook gods just decided they liked us yesterday. I don't know what happened. So.
Oh, here's a different Jamie that says hi from a fellow Coloradoan.
Hello.
Hi.
So, and here I looked like a total dork yesterday. I didn't have a matching shirt and apron. My hair wasn't done. I didn't have makeup on.
Jamie says 8 people were just injured on a crash on Highway 34 near Loveland.
Oh,
Do you guys
dear.
know if that's where Emily is?
She was in Denver.
No, Emily's in Denver. So,
Okay,
good.
What about
Yay.
BJ? And Elly?
BJ is home and Elly are home. No,
Oh.
is Elly home? No. Ellie's not home.
She's not going to Loveland, though. She's going to hashtag parkour.
Yeah, she's going to Fort Collins, so hopefully...
Sanders Homespun Life says, I got my Dining on a Dime cookbook. I'm loving it. I'm going to try the recipe for the tartar sauce tomorrow.
Woo,
Yay.
yay.
So we're waiting a minute for everyone to get on.
Yeah. Okay, guys, give us another thumbs up and a like and a share, please, just so we can get everybody on here. And then we are talking about how to live on one income today. Woohoo, woohoo, woohoo. Does anybody want to live on one income, or does anyone live on one income? Give me a thumbs up. Let me know if you do.
Lots of thumbs ups. Oh,
Ooh,
hey,
I
Donna
think
says,
they
thank
do.
you for telling us about Going Batty. I enjoyed the show very much.
Yay! I did not get to watch them. I keep meaning to, but the problem is after the show is done, I'm usually on the couch, dead.
Dying. Except for today. We'll have to go on a little date.
Yeah.
We only do little dates these days. I don't know.
Well, I'm sorry.
You guys should do a real date and be gone the entire day.
Yeah. Saratoga. Everybody keeps telling us to go to Saratoga. So, yes, Joanne.
Bing Crosby
it was,
when Vermont is mentioned. Isn't that where they did Holiday Inn and
I don't know, but that's what I think of.
and the other one that's the same movie that they redid differently. What was it? White Christmas.
White Christmas. I always think of Vermont for that. New Hampshire, yeah. I always think, oh, that would be so lovely. So lovely.
Yeah, 63,000 views on that soap show is pretty amazing.
So,
What were you gonna say?
yay! So I sent out all the Dining on a Dime cookbooks today. All the orders are shipped. We had several people with missing orders in May. I have no idea what happened, guys. I'm very sorry. somehow I didn't get the orders. So I got those all shipped. So let me know if you haven't received your order. If you've ordered within the last 2 weeks and you haven't got it, let me know. All right, how to live on one income. So give me, see, Tommy has done that for 20 years as a stay-at-home mom. I have done it for 20
Paige says one
20
income.
years.
Yep. It's
Stay-at-home wife. Yep, see? So why would you want to stay home? Well, that's kind of a dumb question, but some people really don't know.
Well, if you don't want to, then don't.
Yeah, if you don't want to, you can move on. That's totally fine. These are for the people who want to. But some reasons why you would want to stay home. You know, wives work the same number of hours as the husbands do if they're doing their jobs right. Not, oh boy, I just stepped in it with saying that, didn't I?
What?
If they're doing their jobs right. Okay, so don't take that the wrong way. But what I'm saying is, if you are a stay-at-home mom, you really have 8 to 10 hours worth of work a day that you can be doing. Now, I totally understand you're up all night long with little kids too. I get that. I've had 4 babies. I have 5 kids now, but I've had 4 babies. So I totally understand that. But if you're up in the middle of the night for several hours, take a nap during the day, that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But it does make life a lot less chaotic, I think.
Much less chaotic.
Much less chaotic if you have one person staying home getting the laundry done during the week and getting the cooking done during the week and taking care of the kids. I have had several moms many times over the last 18 years of doing this that have said, oh, I wish I could stay at home, but. And then we go through and we add up the daycare, we add up the eating out, we add up the clothes for work, we add up the gas, we add up all the presents and stuff for work, and they're making like $1 an hour, and then the moms are crying and saying, I can't believe I'm doing all this and I'm making $1 an hour. So this show is to help you to stay at home if you want to.
It's probably not the only one we're going to do on this subject because it's a big subject.
Actually, this is a very big subject, and we today have planned probably 10 shows that we're going to be doing on this. Not in a row. We're going to do one a week probably or something like that.
No, Carrie has something here. She says we live on one income. It's tough, but we have 3 little ones and daycare would kill us. We may not get to go out and buy all the fancy things others buy or eat out like others, and I wouldn't change it.
Wow.
Exactly.
And you know, for us, actually, we had an interesting beginning on that because Tara was chronically ill when I met her. Mm-hmm. And we had this discussion before we got married, which is the best time to have a discussion like this, that we needed to be able to rely on just income from me.
Yes.
Somehow we ended up in a thing where Tara's involved, but I'm still the main person. I'm still
So what happened was, even though I started living on a dime, I started it as a hobby, just to keep myself entertained when I was pregnant. And it kind of morphed into this other thing. But we did not get paid for living on a dime. We made our first profit 8 years into it.
And that still wasn't all of our income.
Yeah, that was just on top of his additional income. We had to work 8 years before we showed a profit on our business because the problem is, guys, I'm chronically ill. I am not one of these bloggers. You see these bloggers that are making $30,000 a month. We're not doing that. I cannot do it. After the shows, I go and I lay on the couch and I am dead. As a matter of fact, we made plans to be on 2-family Homestead on Monday, and I was thinking, well, that was kind of dumb. I hope I have the energy to do it. But I will. I'll lay down. And then I'll take an Alka-Seltzer and probably revive. But what you guys see on camera is not what's happening behind the scenes. So, yes, Dave.
Jamie says, wait, did I hear that right? You planned shows ahead of time?
I know. We actually planned some shows ahead of time.
Yeah.
So I need to get your little book out and get my shows all planned. She made this gorgeous book for me for my birthday to get myself organized. The problem is I need her to fill out all the spaces for me.
Yes.
So, Jamie has been unable to work with CFS since 2012, trying to stay in our home on my husband's teacher's income. Yes. So that's what we're going to talk about. Do you guys have any specific income or specific questions, please let us know. But we're going to kind of just give you an overview today, and then the other shows will go into more specifics. So, how do you stay in your house when you're making a lower income? Well,
now, if you're used to having two incomes and a lot of stuff, it's more difficult to adjust.
mm-hmm.
But it's so worth it. And like for us, we didn't have that from the beginning, and it was difficult at the beginning, but now it's pretty mellow.
Yeah, and you're going to have to make some sacrifices. You're not going to be going out buying the brand new cars. You're not going to be able to buy a brand new house and live in the perfect neighborhood. Well, I mean, if your husband's making $200,000 a year, sure. But if you're making $50,000 a year, you're going to have to make some sacrifices. We lived in some pretty cruddy houses. We had...
But that wasn't because we were on one income. It's because I hadn't yet figured out how to make money at the income that I had. Yeah.
Yeah, and so he was making $6 an hour, and we had to figure it out. And the thing is if your house payment is too high, move to a cheaper area.
That was 22 years ago, too.
Move to a cheaper house. Like right now, if we can't afford the house we want. We don't really like this house, and we don't like this neighborhood. But we realize after looking, even though we thought we might be moving, we can't afford it, and we're not going to spend the money on a house that we can't afford. Period. I mean, that's just it.
End of statement.
And yeah, and you just are going to have to make some sacrifices. You're not going to be able to go out to eat. You're not going to be able to...
Well, it doesn't mean you can't ever go out to eat.
No, but not every day.
Yeah, you can't go every day.
I know families. We had one lady, her and her husband emailed us. She said, thank you so much for your eating out article, which Mike is going to put a link to. She said, your How to Stop Eating Your Way into Debt article changed our lives. She said, my husband and I were spending $22,000 a year just eating out for her and her husband. That's a full-time job.
Well, the thing is, eating out, it's fun to do it now and then, but it costs, I don't know, 8 times as much as not eating out?
Oh, probably,
and
yeah.
You can have just as good food at home, and that's partly why we did the cookbook, because we were, for ourselves, needing something to be able to cook that way. But...
And I realized that's why I wrote the cookbook, because as much as my poor mother tried, I was a little bit of a tomboy growing up. I didn't want to cook. I wanted to be a hermit living in the mountains by myself with... Actually, it's kind of ironic that we're on the Homestead Network now, because in high school, I wanted to be off-grid before being off-grid was cool. It wasn't called off-grid then. It was called being a dingling. It was.
Seriously.
Back then, it wasn't cool to be off-grid because nobody did that. You'd be out of your mind to do it. But I wanted to live in the mountains by myself with no water, no electricity. And that's what I wanted to do.
Nobody to bother you.
Nobody to bother me in the mountains alone. And that's what I had planned. And then Mike came along and charmed me and suckered me into marriage. Oh, wait, no. I'm kidding. And wooed me so that I couldn't resist getting married.
Really?
And so I decided, well, I've got to learn how to cook because we're not going to be able to eat out every night if he's making $6 an hour. And so that's why I came up with our Dining on a Dime cookbook, which I forgot to get a copy of. And that's how I kind of learned to cook. I figured it out. You got to... Oh, dear, it's coming on. Figure it out, people. Seriously.
Yeah, but we're supposed to be telling people how to figure it out.
So you do what you need to do to figure it out, and that's what we're doing today, is giving you specific tips. So.
One really good starting point is to evaluate your expectations. And I was a television producer for 20 years. We might make a note of that. I think it's coming up in some future. I was a television producer for 20 years. I did not work for the news, but I worked close to news and I worked close to advertising. And I realized over time that those places are there primarily to make you feel dissatisfied with your life the way it is and feel like that you need a lot more things than you really need. Mm-hmm. So to reevaluate your expectations is really a huge one, because like for us, we haven't gone on very many vacations, but we have done a lot of close to home kind of things, and we've occasionally gone to somewhere like Silver Dollar City in Branson. But we had friends who went every year to Disney, spent $10,000 a year
every year,
and the expectation that this is the way they advertise it, and you have to have that every single year, it is going to kill you. But for us, we have the Rocky Mountain National Park near us. Now, at other places, we've had other things near us. But here, we buy a $60 pass for the year for the national park, and we just, whenever we want, we go up there. And it doesn't cost anything else the whole rest of the year. And there are a lot of things you can do depending on where you are. So a lot of it isn't giving up things as much as it's readjusting your expectations to things that are maybe equivalent, but aren't equivalent in the advertising world.
Yes. Okay, so we're getting a few comments. One of them, I didn't see who it was, I just saw the answer, was living in a gang neighborhood. Okay, we have lived in houses that have been really cruddy houses, but they haven't been gang neighborhoods. Now, growing up in Wichita, when my parents first bought the house, it wasn't that bad. And as it went down, it actually was pretty, not the best neighborhood. I mean, we had people robbing the convenience store behind us and running through the backyard with the police, running over our fence we would just be sitting and watch TV and people start running through our yard. But here's the deal. Stop being afraid. What is that noise?
That's the dishwasher.
Oh, can you turn it up, Dave?
It's possessed.
Can you turn off the dishwasher? I don't know why it's running. Thank you, Jack. And do not be afraid. If you are a Christian, God is going to take care of you if that's what He's provided for you. But you don't have to live in a gang-infested neighborhood to do these things. Now, Mike and I live in a nice suburban neighborhood. We've had more things happen in our neighborhood than we ever did in the bad neighborhood in Wichita when we lived there. You know, when we first moved here, the police were out every day. People were breaking in. One lady found a man standing in her toddler's rooms. Cars have been stolen, all kinds of stuff. So don't just think because you're in a nice neighborhood, it's actually that nice.
But the other thing is, even on one income, you don't have to stay in a bad neighborhood. Now, some people say I have to stay in a bad neighborhood because where I live, a 500 square foot house is $1 million. Well, move.
You're not a tree.
Like, for
you
us,
can move.
When we were...
That's my new favorite saying.
When we were first married, Tara was disabled. I had only worked those dollars per hour jobs and never had worked a professional job, and I wasn't really sure how to get one. And so I was trying to make things happen, and it wasn't working out very well. And at the time, house prices in Colorado were just shooting up really high, and it was really out of our reach. So we moved to Idaho. And I'm not saying that...
Because we wanted a drier climate that was cool.
Well, we wanted something like Colorado that didn't have as many people or as high of prices.
Yep.
So we moved there. And here, you know, the house was $150,000 at the time, which was really expensive in Colorado at that time. And where we moved, it was $27,000. And it was not a bad neighborhood. It was... The thing is, if we stayed... Like, if we wanted to live, like, in Denver in those days... we might have ended up in a not very great neighborhood just because we really couldn't afford to live in Denver.
Yeah.
So that's an important thing, is to evaluate everything that you're spending and how.
Yeah, and if you need to move, like for us, you know, we cannot afford to live in Colorado, and we got to thinking, well, if we move somewhere else, like Pennsylvania or Wisconsin or Idaho, somewhere like that, we could actually take the equity from this house and be debt free or have a very low mortgage somewhere else. And we had actually considered that idea. The problem is right now the boys have a good school, so you have to just evaluate these things and figure out what is the best for your family. And you may not be able to have everything all at the same time. I want to be out of this neighborhood. I hate this neighborhood. There's too many people, there's too many dogs, it's too noisy, I can hear the highway. But right now, we can afford this house. The kids have semi-decent schools. Dave's only got 4 years left. So, you know, we may have to stay another 8 years or so.
And really, recently, we were asking ourselves, okay, what are the problems that we really don't want to deal with here? and how can we deal with those problems for now?
Yeah.
And we've done that in other places, and to be honest, where we are right now is way, way better than places we've had to deal with before.
Yeah.
But in those circumstances, we always said, how can we figure out how to do this now? The thing is, when you look at what other people are doing, that's where you're going to sink yourself. You have to think, how can I make it? How can I do this? And a lot of what we really figured out for the living on one income that really helped us was because we started out in a debt payoff cycle from the very beginning, because I had some debt already when we got married. And even though it wasn't that much debt,
Which
relatively,
is why we do not recommend college loans.
And this wasn't college, but it was. But I've heard the other day that I heard that college loans have outdone credit card debt.
It's ridiculous.
But we started out with debt from the very beginning, and so we were already in kind of a payoff mode. But the thing that's important to remember, whether or not you're in the debt, is to evaluate every expense. Like, if you drink coffee at Starbucks every day, you can still you can find a place that's, well, first of all, you can make the coffee at home. But if you just absolutely want to eat or drink coffee somewhere else, there are places where the coffee is $1. And so if you're going to do that, you almost really need to look at every area where that's that expense. I used to love to go to movies all the time, but we ended up to where we were renting them or borrowing them from the library on DVDs because we were cutting that expense. Or cable, we realized, we started doing the math, and because I think we had cable at the beginning, and then we started doing the math and realizing, wow, we don't really watch that much of the cable. And we were looking at how much it cost, and it ended up there was going to be like $5 a show for us to watch it, and our income was really low in those days, and so that was huge. But it's not just one thing, because people think, how can I save on groceries, which is an area where you can flex a lot. Most people can flex a lot on food, but really every area of your life, there are ways where you can say, is there a way I can spend a little bit less? And most of the time, you don't have to give up very much. Occasionally, you may have to, but depending on your circumstance. Like in those days, I also used to do a lot of photography, which was film photography and required a lot of expense in processing. And I was thinking, I'm just only going to take pictures of important family things for now. And then realize that later, when we're in better shape, we can do that.
Yeah.
And now,
so it's things like, instead of having a Netflix account, instead of having Blockbuster, well, Blockbuster's not around anymore, but those kinds of things, a Redbox. Instead of, even the $1.50 to rent at Redbox, yeah, that's better. But go to the library and get the movies. Get those free at the library. But don't buy books. Rent them. We had a person that we had recommended a book to, and she was like, "Oh, I'm going to go buy it." And I'm sitting there thinking, "Wait a minute, you cannot afford to buy a $15 book."
She was standing in the library when we told her.
And she was standing in the library when we told her this.
And her issue is very much of she cannot afford her income, her expenses, because her income is just terribly low. So we were saying, just think. So we figured out, we evaluated every area, and you can't evaluate every area at once or your brain will explode. But we started thinking things like, I used to collect a lot of movies when I was in college. And I realized I don't need to own all these movies. And now with the internet, it's easier than ever because we have Netflix, which is $8 a month or $9 a month. And so we watch a lot of movies on there. And then we have borrowed them from the library. It used to be that if we were really desperate to see some specific movie, we would maybe go rent it for $1. Or I think Redbox, is that still $1? I don't know. But we've rented them on Amazon occasionally. But that was a major cut in that. And cable, we haven't paid cable since 2007.
Yeah.
And at the time, I think cable for us was about $50 a month. But for other people, most people we knew, it was more like $120 or $130.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a few other questions here. So, what... Bandanna Grandma, check her out. Bandanna Grandma, you can put a link up there. You guys, if you're our YouTube friends, go ahead and put your links up there. That's totally fine. You can put them on our Facebook page if they won't go over on YouTube. She said, we had to say no to our kids a lot. That's a big one. Say no to your kids. When we go to the grocery store, my children do not get a treat every single time we go to the grocery store. No ifs, ands, or buts. They don't. Period. They get an allowance for working. Dave gets a payment for helping us with the shows. They can spend their own money to buy those treats. And even then, we don't let them buy it every single time they go to the store because they need to learn to say no. They need to learn to make a list of the things they want.
They don't just let me buy phones all I want.
He's very sad about that.
I wish.
But
well, actually, for us, the thing with the kids, that's been really helpful because not only is it reducing the cost to say, here's your allowance, you can use it in how you, within our parameters, you can use it to spend on things. But also, it's the real world between us and them where we say, hey, this is an expense that has to be paid. And we don't think kids should have a phone under this age anyway. But
when they're 16 and driving, they can get a phone.
But then they can make that choice. And interestingly
enough,
enough,
they pay for it.
When Elly had that choice, she really wasn't sure she was going to get a phone. And when she was driving. And we kind of thought it would be nice for her to have something just in case. So we thought, well, maybe we'll just get her a really cheap burner phone that has minutes, so where it's not going to be something she'll be able to use if we have to pay for it. But we weren't going to buy them any kind of regular thing. And she eventually got a cheap phone of her own.
So the other thing, Erica said, I would really like to move, but I don't have any money to move. Well, here's the thing. You need to figure out a way to do it. You know, like we said, Mike was earning $6 an hour, and we found ways to move. So what are some ways you can do that? Use your tax refund to help yourself move. Have a garage sale. Sell as much of your stuff as you can. Use that money to help you move. Get a second job. Get a second job. Work it for a few months. Save all that money towards your moving. Do that. Do you have a second car you could sell? Do you have, any collections you could sell? One time we sold a ton of stuff. He had a whole bunch of Star Wars toys, and we used that to pay for our move from Idaho to Kansas. And so it took us a few months. It was like 6 months or so before we decided to move, and we started selling off all this stuff. But basically, he sold all these things, and then we were able to pay for our move.
Heidi says you can find Redbox codes for free movies.
You can.
If you Google it.
So Dolores wants to know, how many months of emergency fund would you have in place for a one-income family? Ideally, 6 months. So if you can get up to 6 months, that's ideal. But the thing is, don't let that scare you. Just start. Okay? Even if you just have $100, that's better than nothing. Don't you? I mean, seriously, you've
Honestly,
got to
so
start
at the
somewhere.
beginning, there was a time where we had no ability to have any extra, but we would save. Dave, stop. We would save a little here and there, or we would get money in from other sources and squirrel it away until we were able to have a little bit of a buffer, and then we would use that buffer for things like getting better deals at the grocery store by buying more stuff when it's on a cheaper price now that we don't have to spend later, because now we created a small buffer for ourselves, and then we would use that buffer to leverage in some other way. So like I said, somehow we would end up working out where we'd figure out how to have $200 extra. And then Tara would say, hey, I found meat now for like half the normal price or a third of the normal price. So we'd go buy a lot of it. And then later on, when we would have normally spent more on the meat, we were spending less, and therefore we would end up having more than the $200 in the budget to use for those things that we were thinking ahead on. And that's kind of how you grow it. It's kind of like that snowball when you're paying off debt, except it's in the other way, where you figure out a way to save on something, and then you take the extra money from saving that and put it into other things that you can save on because you're prepared. If you're completely behind your bills all the time, then you can never be prepared for anything, and you're going to pay the highest prices.
Yeah, if you're always behind on your bills, something is wrong somewhere. And I totally get it with single moms. Mom was there. I understand that. And I'm not talking about extenuating circumstances. I'm talking about if you're working 2 incomes or even 1 income and you're always behind on your bills, you have got to stop spending somewhere. Now, I realize some families they're doing the best they can and they have medical bills and those kinds of things. I'm not talking about those kinds of situations, but you really need to figure out where you're spending money, and or your husband needs to get a second job until you guys, or a better job. There are some points, and we were at that point, you can only save so much. You just flat out have to earn more. And you need to figure out a way to do that. And if it's working at home with something or something like that, then you are gonna have to get that income up in order to start catching up with your bills. Now, I think it went by so I didn't see for sure, but I think it was Katrina or Katina said, do our kids do sports? No. That is one way we were able to afford to stay home on one income. I am not going to spend $3,500 a year for my kids to play football.
Well, and we didn't tell them they couldn't play any sports, but we would have our intention was to restrict it to one sport per kid, and if something was frightfully expensive, then we'd have to say, hey, here's the real world cost, and somehow this has to come together, and we might help you with that if we can.
Yeah.
But it never really came up because a lot of those sports parents want their kids to do more than the kids actually want to do them. And our kids, they tried a couple of small things and that was it.
Yeah. So Ruth wants to know, how often do you budget? Weekly, monthly? I'll be honest, we don't have a budget anymore. Now we have our...
it's become automatic.
We have, can you go to our budget on our website? I forgot that one. We do have our budgets from when Mike was making about $6 an hour. We don't have our most recent one, living in Colorado.
We should make a new one just
so you guys can see. But right there. We have our budget here that Mike's going to put on for you. And we would do it monthly, but now it's become so automatic that I just know I'm not going to spend more than $1.99 for chicken, and I know how much chicken I need. I'm not going to spend more than 50 cents for a bell pepper, and that's what I need. When I buy clothes, I know that I don't spend about $3 to $3.50, $4 for shirts and pants for us. So it's automatic because we've just been doing it so long. But you do it however it's most convenient for you. If you get paid weekly and it's easier for you to do it weekly, do it that way. If you get paid monthly, the thing about a budget, everybody makes this so complicated, and oh dear, I shouldn't say this, but I have to. Do I say this?
I don't know what you're going to say, so I don't know.
I'm not a big fan of Dave Ramsey.
No? Why not?
Well, here's why not. The thing is,
Here, I like Dave.
No, I like Dave, but I'm not a big fan of people taking his course, and I'll tell you why. People who already are in debt and don't have money, and then you have to pay $100 to $150 to take this course. I don't think that's a good thing to do. Now, you can go to the library and check out his books for free. You can go online and listen to his podcasts for free. You can go do that. You can learn everything you need without having to spend all that money to go take the course. I don't like the idea of spending that much money to go take a course. Now, if you really think that you're going to need to do it, that's fine. But budgeting is not hard. But you can get it down. The problem is people just don't want to stick to it, because when the rubber meets the road, it's the sticking to it that's the problem.
Yeah. One thing, it can be worth spending a little bit of money on something that's going to save you a whole lot, but you have to know how it's going to save you. You can't just say, this is going to save me something, and buy and spend a lot of money on things, because there are a lot of people out there selling things that will tell you, but as much as possible, we used to look at the library or different things like that, because we really didn't have any money.
Yeah.
And that was the case for a while. And it became much easier as we started thinking. It's kind of all about where your mind goes. And when we lived in Idaho and we didn't really have any money, we would get free stuff at a lot of places, and not like somebody giving it to us discovering somewhere, oh, hey, look, they dump wood chips on the side of the road. We can use those for gardening. Or we'd go to garage sales and find stuff. It just happened that we'd find some amazing deal on something that was $25, but it was saving us $100. And those things are out there, but you have to be looking to find them.
So Heather wants to know, how do you pay off credit cards left by the ex and still pay the bills? Okay, go to our YouTube channel and watch our Penny Pension Mama show. My dad left my mom with $35,000 in bills, and she made $1,000 a month, and she had to pay it all off. She had creditors calling her. She almost lost her house. Pretty much, you just start paying them off, and you keep going. You try to get as much child support or alimony if you can, but you may just have to suck it up and just say, you know what, my name was on there, and I'm going to have to do it. This isn't fair. Life is not fair. And you may just have to do it. So just take every extra amount that you get, tax refunds, garage sales, selling something, Christmas money, those kinds of things, and just put it towards the debt and get it off.
Well, and we did a lot of that when we were, because I had some collections of things from before I got married, and I realized, why am I collecting this stuff? Well, not only collecting it, but possessing it costs you something, and it takes a lot of energy from you, and selling it was helpful for us. But there were other things we got. Occasionally we'd get a rebate from the phone company or a rebate from somewhere, and we would put that straight in there. Or, like Tar said, tax refunds. And there were, we just really focused greatly on paying off that debt. And even if it's not yours, that's really unfortunate. And if there are ways you can happen to not have to pay somebody else's debt, that's great. But you can still get through it if you have to. It's not fun, but we would make it in a way where it was kind of almost a game to be able to get ourselves out of it faster. And there were a lot of opportunities that people don't realize where money comes your way, and most people spend it on something unimportant. But we had a very strong focus on getting that all.
So Dolores wants to know, how do we celebrate? So for birthdays for the kids, we usually spend about $25 or less on their birthdays. Now, since they've gotten older, when they turn 16, we'll do something super special for them and spend maybe $100 or $150 to go to like corn maze or something like that type of thing. We do have 3 birthdays in 1 week here between 2 boys and Grandpa, so we'll go out, take the boys out to a restaurant, a special restaurant here in Denver that's a big to-do. So we'll do something like that. But normally we celebrate at home with just the family. We'll have a couple of friends over, but we don't spend $500, $1,000, $2,000 on birthdays or anything like that. For our anniversary, we will go out to eat, dinner. But we've only really left town for 3 or 4 anniversaries out of the 23 years that we've been married. We've only left town a couple of times. Mom did take the kids, you know, on our anniversary when we lived closer. She would keep overnight, but, you know, Mom didn't really, she's not well, so when we lived by her, she didn't keep the kids overnight a lot. You know, she would do it a couple of times a year, but it wasn't like all the time or anything. And so, you know, you just do what you have to do, but, you know, we celebrate. David Joshua? Sit down.
Your pay is declining as you're far away from the job.
So, you know, you just do the free things. You go to the park, you go to the mountains, you go to the lake, you go to the river, you go to the, you know, backyard barbecue. Those kinds of things are the things that you do to have fun and celebrate.
Well, and the thing is, it would be nice to go to the Bahamas. It was nice for Ellie and me to go to Ireland. But the truth is, most of the time, people get this obsession about a specific type of vacation. And for us, I found that a lot of times what you experience at that vacation isn't really much better than your close to home vacation.
Yeah.
So like us going up to the mountains, people over the world come here for that purpose.
Yeah.
And you know, there are places in the country where it's pretty desolate. But most places in the country have somewhere nearby that people come to for vacation, and make use of those close places, and you don't have to spend as much.
Okay, so just for all you Dave Ramsey fans, I am not criticizing Dave Ramsey. I'm just saying I don't think you should spend a whole lot of money to do a program if you can just go and do it for free at the library, okay? But yes, Dave?
But somebody pointed out.
Well, Ave the Love was wondering about how to pay off student loans, but...
Student loans? Okay.
Oh, hold on a second.
Like right
Somebody
now.
else was saying on the Dave Ramsey, which is true, many churches invest in that to then offer it free. to
And
people
that's
that go
fine.
there.
Yeah, and that's fine
So,
if that's true.
I mean,
But
it's a good
every church we've been to,
you're
they
not saying the
haven't.
program is bad. You're just
No.
saying you wouldn't spend the cost if you were desperate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm saying if you're having that many money problems, you don't need to be spending more money buying these things. And I know that they will help you, but are you going to really do it? You know, you need to make sure you're going to really do it. And so if your church does that for free, or if your church, you know, has scholarships or that kind of thing, that's totally fine. But, you know, I'm just saying, go to the library and rent the book, or get a used one off of Amazon or at the bookstore or the thrift store or whatever, is what I'm saying.
Oh, Jill says, I think how long I have to work after taxes to buy things, then I realize I don't need it.
So that's another thing.
That's one thing
Add
we
up
always do.
how much it's going to cost you. We know people who have bought a $25,000 car. In the end, after extra insurance, extra taxes, extra cost for interest, it was going to be $40,000. The mom would have been able to take off a year and a half of work, not work at all, to just pay for that car. Is that worth it? Is it worth it to have to work 3 to 4 hours for that takeout pizza you just ordered?
Everything has a price tag, and we try to figure out what is that price tag. What are we actually getting for that? Because I know this isn't really a good example for a single income family trying to make it, but we've known people who buy motorhomes for $300,000 or $500,000, and I think you can go camping all the time, and that's never going to pay. If you think how much per day that you're using is that costing you, it's astronomically high. We were looking at, I said to Tara, wow, you know, you could rent a camper. Because I was thinking, now they're for pop-up campers where they sell them for $20,000.
Yeah.
They want $300 a day to rent them. And we were thinking, you can stay in a really nice hotel for less than that.
Yeah.
And even though that's not a single income, just trying to make the bills kind of example, there are a lot of other things in life, like Tara was talking about with eating out, where you say, wow, if I eat out and it costs me $100 and I make $10 an hour, I have to work 10 hours to pay for that. Mm-hmm. But not only do you have to work 10 hours to pay for that, but to get that $100, you have to make more than that because they're going to tax a lot of it before you actually even get the money. Mm-hmm. And so if you can think, how many hours is that going to take me, and think, is that really worth it? Because I see people
that's one of the big ways people really change.
I see people on minimum wage and they're buying coffee at Starbucks, and I think, you know, wow, that coffee is costing you 30 minutes of work. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's worth you working that half hour at a job you hate for just that coffee. Mm-hmm. But
yeah. And someone said student loans. How do you pay off student loans? You pay them off like you pay everything else off. You start putting all your extra money towards student loans. They're not going away. You made a big mistake. You probably shouldn't have gotten them. You're probably one of the 3/4 of people who did this, and now they're not being paid even close to what this college said that they were going to be paid. I know so many people who are FedEx drivers and working at the grocery store, and they have all these student loans. I get that. Just suck it up and say, I made a mistake. I got to get it paid off, and get it paid off. Put everything you can towards it.
yeah, the thing about student loans is I would just try to pay them off as quick as you can and get them out of your life.
The thing is, if you have kids,
I would pay off.
Don't let them do it.
I would pay off other things first, maybe. If you have something
Yeah.
where you're paying a lot of interest on it. But I would do your best to knock that out. One thing that if you want to live on one income, you really have to get rid of the debt.
Yeah.
And you really have to get serious about getting rid of the debt. And some people, like Des was talking about not realizing she needed more money, even though they had cut. And so she's selling things online as a second business. And, you know, some people think selling things online is not really working. I can stay home and cuddle my children all day long while the money just rolls in. That's not realistic. But you can do something. You can find things that do work at home, and then and then do them when the kids are in bed. When you might rather watch TV, but you're focused on the goal of, if I get this debt paid off, then we can live on one income.
Yeah. Yeah, you really have to get the debt paid off. And if you're wanting to stay home, but you don't have the money because of so much debt, then you need to work, live off of your husband's income, and use all of your income to pay it off. That's another way to get that off. Now,
And when we would pay off one thing and there was extra money, we would not act like that was extra money. We would put it right into paying off other things. And it made it go faster, much faster.
Yeah.
But, sorry, one thing on student loans. Unfortunately, if you have them, you're going to have to pay them off. There's pretty much no way to get that forgiven or whatever taken away. I mean, you practically have to be dead. But I would say if you're still in school, I would not continue to get more loans. I would figure ways to pay that as you go. I think a lot of people don't really, because loans are easy, a lot of people don't make as much effort to get scholarships and grants and things. But the thing is that it's hard to do that. But, you know, if you're going to save $80,000, is it worth going to that really difficult effort rather than spending years and years in the future? Now, of course, again, if you already have the debt, that's irrelevant. But if you're still in the point of bringing on debt for that purpose, I would not.
yeah.
And that's another thing, actually, as far as all these college degrees. I think people don't think about this, but if you say, this is going to cost me $200,000 for this degree, and I can expect to make X number of dollars a year, and I'm probably going to work in this field for 15 or 20 years. Do the math. How much are you going to make? If your education is costing you more than 15% of that, then you shouldn't be going into that field.
Yeah. And some other people were saying about the debt, stop going into debt. We have a credit card. We have a business credit card. We have a personal credit card. And then we have our debit cards. We only buy things that we have the money in the bank to pay for on those credit cards. If we don't have the money in the bank, we don't use the credit cards. The credit cards are solely convenience for Amazon, online sales, those kinds of things.
And we pay them off immediately.
We pay them off every single month. We never, ever, ever
carry a balance,
ever. The only time that happened was when my grandfather had a heart attack and we had to come back here because we thought he was going to die. And we weren't able to pay it. And then, even then, I called the credit card company and said, I had a family emergency. I could not pay this card. Can you please forgive the interest for this month? I've always paid on time. And they were like, yes, we can't. So if you have that situation, call them and ask if they will take it off.
But that was mainly the bill came while we were gone, and we didn't pay it because we didn't realize it was there.
Yeah.
So it's not like we just didn't pay it.
Well, no, but I mean, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I would not charge anything you can't pay for now.
Yeah. And you can't do credit card, you can't do student loans for bankruptcy, so you're stuck with them. So, you need to figure out a way to do them. And
so Patricia
that kind of thing.
is asking if you have recommendations for online jobs that are legitimate. The thing about online jobs is if you really want to make money at an online job, you kind of have to make your own.
Yeah.
You have to figure out a way to create something and figure out how to get it in front of the people who are looking to buy that thing. If you try to do something like a catalog thing where they say they're going to send you some thread and you're going to be making things, you're going to be making wages like Chinese laborers in their factories. It's not going to be enough for you. And so, like, we're actually dealing with this with two of our kids right now because they're out applying for jobs, but they're disappointed and thinking, wow, that's a lot of work for that small amount of money I'm going to be making in that job. But I was telling them, hey, you need some cash flow right now. So getting that job is important, but then spending their free time developing things that are going to pay more. The thing is, even if you're 65, if you can figure out a way to use your life experience to teach people something that they don't know, or create something that you can create. Those kinds of things will pay more than having somebody else do that for you. And things like Etsy are the way some people start, but I wouldn't do that.
A lot of people ask me, should I make soap at home? Soap is not a good thing to sell. It takes a lot of investment and it's a lot of work. So
those things can work better than a really low paying job, but if you can get more focused on creating something that people can use and having a lot more people to offer that to, it'll make you a lot more money.
Yeah, and Jamie wants to know, she's asking my mom, how did you keep your spirits up while living on such a strict budget? What do you do for fun, or what brought you joy during those difficult times? You know, sometimes you just have to suck it up and say, I'm just going to have to get through this. It's not fun. You can't get your joy up. You can't do anything, so you go find a book, read a book to get your mind off of it, or watch some TV shows so you get your mind off of it for a while. But, you know, it's just little things. You have to just do super little things, like just get out of the house and go to the park or go to the library and find some good books
so you did
and rent some movies,
so
those
you
kind
did
of
things
things.
for joy. It just wasn't expensive things, going to the park.
I don't remember a whole lot of joy through that time. I will be perfectly honest.
But I'm sure that you guys did something that didn't cost much or nothing, maybe nothing. But it's figuring out which things you can do for free or low.
Sometimes you just have to suck it up. And, you know, you just have to say, you know what, I'm going to get through this time. I'm going to keep going until I'm done. And, you know, do that. Somebody was asking, I've got some chicken breasts. What do I do for it for dinner? So, you could do barbecue chicken. You could do some Italian seasoning on there. You could put some just lemon pepper on there. You could just grill it. You could just bake it with just some seasoned salt, that kind of thing. Make some rice, slice up a few vegetables, or cook some from the freezer, that kind of thing. These are the kinds of things you need to do so you don't go out to eat. So, so that's the kinds of things that you need to do. No hair salon. Yes, Homestead Tessie is right. No hair salons, no nail dones. If you need to get your hair cut, go to the beauty college and have it done there. That's what we do. And let's see. So those are some of the things that you can do. Sorry, Mike had to leave. We're having some problems. Excuse me. Yeah, you know, get your kids used to going to the thrift stores and buying stuff at garage sales. Huh?
It says that.
My kids have a heart attack when they see the prices at garage sales and thrift stores now. So
we're going to have to do more shows on this to get it all. But if you guys can let us know what areas you'd be interested in, because we were thinking about talking about housing, how to live on one income when dealing with housing, and maybe dealing with staying at home, being stay-at-home mom, and other kinds of things. If there's a specific topic you'd like to hear about, let us know, because we're going to do more shows like this. Mm-hmm. But also, one thing I think is really important. Are we down? Our things. YouTube is down. Is Facebook still on?
It looks like it.
Everyone says freezing. So we'll go ahead and take the notes here, guys. I'm sorry if it's freezing. So hopefully we'll be able to.
You want me to try restarting it?
Well, we're right at the end, Dave. If you can still hear us, the thing I would say is part of being able to do a single income life, if you're not doing it now, is a little bit of a process. And the thing about the snowball thing I was talking about, if you can figure out how to pull a little bit of money away from your regular expenses and use that money for things like buying groceries when they're on sale all the time, instead of buying them at the full price, and then using the money you save from not buying them at the full price ever and putting that towards something else, that snowball eventually catches up and it becomes much easier, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Yep.
So, guys, are we still having trouble, Dave?
Yes, a lot of trouble.
Andrea is asking if that's the soap for sale. I think we're going to have to go.
So this one is a soap. I told everybody I would cut it today and show you guys, so I'm showing you real quick before we're gone, if we're still here, who has no idea. Mike can put the link for my soap on there. But that'll probably be about it for today.
It sounds good, it's just so they can hear
okay, so they can still hear us, but they can't see us. So what good is it me showing them soap? Well, I guess if there's some miraculous thing happens.
What was I going to do? You said I was going to do something.
Put my soap thing on it.
Oh, the soap link.
Yeah.
To the channel or buying the soap?
Okay. For buying the soap and my soap channel, if you guys want to watch. I just told everyone I would cut this today. And then we'll see what last comments we have here. I guess we're back on again.
But go ahead and leave us your comments. Well, actually, can we still get them later? Because I was going to say
we can get them on YouTube.
I was going to say we can use them for making another.
Yeah, so give us your comments and your questions, and we'll answer them
because we're going to do more
in
on
another
this,
video.
Variations on this topic, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you can watch it again, Jeannie. Just, oh, that's kind of funny. It looks like a white cloud on that one.
It's fine now.
What is for dinner this evening? Charlene wants to know she's having fajitas. We're probably going to Chipotle. As we say, don't go out to eat, but we're probably going to go on a date.
But we've gotten to where we can live on one income pretty well.
Yes.
And going to Chipotle every now and then is not
yes.
frightening expensive. Where's the soap? You asked me to put the soap for sale and I can't find it.
You had it in there.
No, I had the soap channel and I had the soap.
Okay. Okay, just a second. We'll see the last comments here.
Sorry, so you are selling it now at...
This one is already sold. This one is not, so these will be for sale. These are lavenders that I made yesterday. Wasn't that funny, Jamie, how that turned a crazy color?
Okay, for those who are asking, I am sharing the link to where you can buy the soap. Oops.
Yeah, it smells really good. That's why my nose has been itching, because I'm allergic to lavender, and so it smells really good, though.
Yeah, all right. Okay, there it is.
Okay, any questions since we're still on here?
Well, there are all kinds of things we could say. Yeah, Antonella says, I would love to see more videos on this topic. We realize that a lot of people want them, so we're going to do more.
Yes.
And we probably will do some specific things like housing and staying at home, being a stay-at-home mom and stuff like that.
So let us know what topics you want, because we're probably going to do once a week a how to stay at home video, because it's a topic, it's actually our #1 topic on our website, believe it or not. On our YouTube channel, is staying at home is one of our top videos that people go to. So
I'm trying to grab a bunch of extra
Mike's
comments
grabbing the comments here.
that we haven't been able to answer tonight, so we can look at them again for future
Oh,
shows.
by the way, guys, look what I got at the store today. $1.69 for the Hunkin' Big box of Cheerios. Isn't that cool?
And I just ran myself into a wall.
Oh,
hey,
no. Are you okay?
one thing about Chipotle, we don't necessarily do this just to save, but also because we don't want to eat as much. We will split a burrito bowl,
Yeah.
and then so I'll usually get one single soft corn taco just because you can get a single one there. And it's less expensive than us buying 2 full meals when we're not going to eat that much.
So, Katie, the quickest way to raise your credit score is to pay your bills on time and to get your debt paid off. So, pay your bills on time and your credit score will go up.
Well, and I don't want to encourage you to do things if you have a problem with debt. But because we don't have a problem with debt, because we use the card to pay for things online and then we pay it off right away, it's constantly going up and down a lot, and it showed them over the years that we're always going to pay it every single time.
Remind them about the sub count.
So that's helped us a lot.
So, guys, we are at 49,000 subscribers, Dave?
Yeah.
Are we? We hit 49,000 subscribers.
It's like
Can you believe it?
49,000.
Wow.
When we hit 50,000, we're going to give away an apron that Mom made, special with her own hands, never worn, brand new.
Unless you want Mom to wear it, and that'll be extra special. But
Somebody was selling, I forgot who, to charge one bill each month and then pay it off. That works as long as you have
Actually
enough
pay it
control to where you actually pay it off.
Yeah.
And that, before I met Tara, I got the idea I was going to do that with my debt. And instead I got another card to pay off my debt, and I just charged it all up.
And
So
we
you have to
have-
be careful that you have enough control before you do that.
And we have a book called, what's the credit card book called? Go to our website.
Winning the credit card game.
Winning the credit card game. And it tells how we paid off our credit card debt by switching credit cards. And
We were already in the credit card problem, so we just thought, well, what's
so
the
we found the lowest credit cards with the 0% rate, and we would transfer our debt to that. And we paid 0 interest on all of our credit card debt for the 5 years it took us to pay it off.
However,
So-
at first, because some people are going to say, oh, I don't get a 0%. At first, we didn't get 0%, but it was like, it went from 14% to 7%, and then they made us offers for like 3%, and then pretty soon we were getting offers for 0%. And unfortunately, that makes it tempting. That makes it tempting to charge things, but if you we were very disciplined at that point.
And stop using them if you don't have control. It's not worth getting your credit card score up
Insurance, healthcare, house costs.
if you can't do that. Yes, Dave.
Jamie is saying that 34 is closed, so don't go that way.
Oh, thank you, Jamie, for letting us know. We'll tell the kids.
Just so you guys know, I am grabbing all the remaining comments in case we haven't seen something, so that we can definitely address that in the next show we do on this topic, which will probably be very soon.
Yeah, so get the rest of them in.
Yeah, Did Your Mom says Netflix is extremely cheap and you can binge watch the shows you love. Yeah.
Right now it's Father Brown.
$9 a month. Yeah, we're watching Father Brown right now. 'Cause
Oh, we love Father Brown. It's so good.
We actually love the BBC shows.
We love them.
I mean, we love a lot of shows, but we really like the BBC shows, and we just discovered Father Brown. We've already watched 2 seasons.
We need to have you guys give us a list of clean shows. So we like watching clean shows. So like Father Brown, Rosemary and
Shows
Thyme,
without cussing.
Poirot, Newhart, Psych, Monk.
Well, Psych.
Those are all our best shows that we watch. Well, Psych, we kind of go through. We don't watch all of them, but yeah. So
Yeah, it sounds like Cherry was asking about budgeting, and so I'm thinking what we should develop a budget that reflects more of a now budget. Not necessarily now for us, but now if we were in a little bit. I mean, we're doing a little better because we have been careful all this time.
yeah. Now Monday's show. I know I promised this a couple of days ago. I'm very sorry, but it's a really long list. I figured out how to eat $150 for 4
Wait.
people for a month.
You said Monday?
Yeah.
I thought Monday we're with. Oh no. Oh, we're with 2 Family after our show.
So 2 Family Homestead, we're going to be on with them after our show on Monday at 7 p.m. You too? Mom and Dad can hardly wait for school to start again. David.
He was typing stuff on
Go ahead. You keep going. You keep going. I'll bust
The
some
show on Monday, I'm getting the post done. $150 to feed a family of 4 for an entire month. It can be done without Aldi's and without coupons. And I even have the ads from the stores to show you how I did it, okay? So that's going to be Monday's show. I'm going to get the post together tomorrow because from dawn to setting sun,
And-
a woman's work is never done.
Well, and if you love spending time with us, you're going to get double the opportunity on Monday because
Yes.
like 30 minutes after our show, is it 30 minutes after?
I think so.
We're going to be on with 2 Family Homestead, and that'll be awesome and
7 p.m.
exciting
Eastern.
too.
And we're doing a Dining on a Dime giveaway.
What?
Dun, dun,
On their
dun. Yep.
Ooh.
They're going to ask 2 questions. And if anybody's been paying attention to our videos, they'll know the answers to those 2 questions.
Dun, dun, dun.
Actually,
Timmy's going to be scouring all
Actually,
of those.
maybe I should we give the answer to those 2 questions in our show, but we won't say that it's the answer?
Well, we already gave one of the answers today.
I think we should do that.
Wait, what
Then if
kind
they're
of
paying
contest?
attention. Yeah, you want a Dining on a Dime cookbook?
Yeah.
Don loves
BJ
Father
wants-
Brown too. Well, he could have his own. He'd have to have his own contest against himself because he has an edge that other people may not necessarily
There's
have.
only like 2,500 of them available at my disposal.
I know. So you need a new one, huh?
Oh, hey, and they're coming too. They're already shipped.
Oh, the books are. Oh,
They're shipped. I
seriously?
didn't tell you that.
Oh.
Time to clean out the garage warehouse.
Okay, well, we might be having a Dining on a Dime sale next week. We'll have to see because I found some cases that I forgot we had.
Oh, okay.
I thought we were down to our last case, and I found 8 more cases.
Casey Miller asked, "What is Homestead? Another show?"
Two Family Homestead is on YouTube. They're another show. They are part of the Homestead Network with us. Go to thehomesteadnetwork.com, and there's a whole bunch of us on there teaching all kinds of things. We aren't exactly YouTubers. I mean, we aren't exactly homesteaders. All these homesteaders are YouTubers. We are more saving money, getting out of debt. I want to be a homesteader. Not so much.
Well,
but it's okay.
We've been close to homesteading before.
But we've done a lot of homesteading things.
A lot of things that
Yeah.
are very relevant to that. Although a lot of the people in the Homestead Network are actually, raising cows and chickens.
Yeah.
And doing.
I
lots of
know
farm
that that's a
stuff.
lot of work, and I'm not up to it.
Oh, Cher from Two Family Homestead is on. LOL, sneaky Tara.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that. We'll give the answers, but we're not going to tell you that they're the answers. We're going to
the
work
answers
it
on
in.
Monday's show.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
we'll say something and randomly there'll be a really bizarre clock tower and then we'll keep on going. That's not it, by the way. Just
I'll see if I can work it into the. I don't know if I can do that. I'll see if I can work it in without people knowing it's
So
the
you guys
answer.
are gonna have to write down every single word Mom says.
Yeah, write down every word Mom says.
So Chloe, I'm making a note of your comment too. We're taking comments. I'm making comments of all the. I'm grabbing all the comments that we didn't have time to answer this show, so we can get to them in our next show on this topic, which will be soon.
Who's going to go through all these questions?
I guess I'm gonna have to.
He's got like 15, 20 pages of
Well,
questions.
I usually
here.
just have the ones that I
Holy
saw,
moly.
but some of them got out of control today, so I just grabbed everything.
All right, guys, visit us at livingonadime.com.
It's been great having
Please
you tonight.
like, share. It really helps us out on YouTube and Facebook if you guys like and share us. And thank you for loving my soap.
Let me smell it.
This
one's
one
really
is
good. What
already
is it?
sold, but
That
these
one's-
will be up for sale.
It's really good. What is it?
Lavender.
No wonder I like it.
Lavender, oatmeal, and honey.
Yes.
Elly's leaving to hashtag parkour. Don't go to 34. It's closed.
Hashtag parkour.
Well, not yet.
Okay. All right, guys. See you later. Have a
Bye.
good night.
Have an awesome weekend. See you
Bye.
later.
Facebook is down. Bye, YouTube. YouTube is also